Hey folks, this is Kalani. Things are finally moving forward. We now know when Season 3 of Shadowlands will end, so we have a release date for Season 4 and when all the wacky fated raid stuff is going to happen. That also gives us a deadline for Season 3 activities and achievements, and it gives us a better idea of when we might see the Dragonflight expansion and whether or not this year's release date seems feasible. There are also some massive auction house changes and changes to chat channels coming that seem to have come out of nowhere, so let's break it all down and see exactly what Season 4 is going to look like. Before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Alright, first and foremost, we have a release date for Season 4. Season 4 of Shadowlands will kick off on August 2nd, which is just over 4 weeks away. That gives us 4 weeks to square away all of our Season 3 goals, get any achievements you may have been chasing, and get ready for a new round of gearing up. We also have confirmation that both the Ahead of the Curve achievement and the Cutting Edge achievement will no longer be obtainable after Season 3 ends, so that's good to know. As a quick note, the dev team also said that they do have more nerfs planned for the Sepulchre of the First One's raid before Season 3 ends. They know that far fewer guilds have achieved Cutting Edge this time around because the raid has been particularly difficult in quite a few areas, especially as you work your way through the last 3 bosses, so we should expect some larger nerfs to work their way in for the hardest bosses in the Sepulchre raid. So if you were giving up on getting your Ahead of the Curve achievement, or maybe even your Cutting Edge achievement, there may still be hope. This last round of nerfs could put those achievements within your grasp, so don't give up just yet. Now this release date is actually quite a bit earlier than many had anticipated, which has some interesting knock-on effects for other major milestones like the release date of the Dragonflight expansion. Season 4 is a bit of a bridge between the end of Shadowlands and the start of Dragonflight. To prevent a huge content drought with nothing new in the last few months of the expansion, they're changing things up with Season 4, but we had a few important details that made it seem like Season 4 would still be quite a ways away, mainly that Season 3 would run for a typical season duration while Season 4 is going to be a short season. Now how short is short, we have no idea, but with the typical duration being 6 months or longer, a short season probably falls into the 3 to 4 month time frame. If Season 4 starts in August and it only runs for 3 months, that would put us in November for Dragonflight's release date. That might seem way too soon, and I would usually agree with you, but I actually think the dev team could be aiming for November, if not December, for Dragonflight. Season 4 isn't really being designed to last for an extended period of time. That's why we have raid loot vendors being added back into the game, and we'll also have the option of upgrading our raid gear from each difficulty up until Mythic. So we're going to be gearing up much faster, and that season is going to start very soon. It's like the dev team are actually trying to speed up everything and get us out of Shadowlands as quickly as they can. It's also worth noting that one of the expansion leaks from earlier in the year that got almost everything right about Dragonflight, including the name, the new race and class, and even details like the talent trees, also stated that they were aiming for a November release date. Now obviously everyone called that complete and utter nonsense until the pre-orders started. Now we have this December 31st date, which is more a guideline than anything else, but even then people still say that's just for the pre-orders and it'll probably get pushed back. There's no way they release Dragonflight this year. But if that were the case, I would have expected Season 4 to start way later. I wasn't entirely convinced that Dragonflight would launch this year, especially considering we haven't even started alpha testing yet, but the Season 4 start date actually convinces me. I don't know if it's a good idea, I have no idea if the expansion can even be finished in time, but I now completely believe that Blizzard is aiming for a November or December release date for Dragonflight, which also makes me think that alpha has to start next week. If they don't start alpha testing next week, that's going to be a huge red flag. Honestly, I still think it's too late to really make any significant changes to the game if they are needed, but I guess they could surprise us. Maybe Dragonflight doesn't need as much testing because there's no wacky systems to mess everything up, but I'm calling it now. This time next week, we will have our first glimpses of the Dragonflight alpha, and we can finally see what this expansion is all about. Now, in case you had forgotten, Season 4 is going to change things up quite a bit. All All 3 Shadowlands raids will be rotated through each week, they will be scaled up, given extra special affixes to change the boss fights, and they'll drop significantly better loot. There are also loot vendors where you can buy weapons and trinkets, and we'll be able to upgrade any piece of gear from normal to heroic and even up to mythic, so gearing up through raiding is going to be very different this time around and probably much faster. The Mythic Plus dungeon pool is also getting swapped around. We'll have the 2 Tazavesh dungeons, the 2 Mechagon dungeons, the 2 Karazhan dungeons, and then the Grimrail Depot and the Iron Docks dungeons from Warlords of Draenor. That's our Mythic Plus pool in Season 4, so almost no Shadowlands dungeons for the last leg of the Shadowlands expansion, which will be an interesting change. And then of course we'll have a new PvP season with upgraded gear to collect, as well as some class balancing and tuning changes to address outliers in class performance. I actually think Season 4 will be more interesting when compared to Season 3, and I am very interested to see how players take to the new upgrade paths for raid gear, as well as the raid loot vendors. If they are as well loved as I expect them to be, Blizzard might just keep that kind of thing around for future expansions. That's not all though, there was actually a new PTR build pushed alongside this announcement with some very interesting updates. For starters, the auction house is moving away from server restrictions, and certain parts of the auction house will actually become region-wide. So instead of just having access to your server's goods for sale, you'll actually have access to your entire region's goods for sale. This goes both ways. Obviously, you're going to have way more competition if you're trying to sell, but you're going to have way more options if you're trying to buy. Now this only goes for certain parts of the auction house. As I said, it's only going to be commodity listings to start with, so that's things like gems, herbs, flasks and consumables. That also means that other items like weapons and armor will remain server specific for now, so really it's just the items that kind of need a large supply that are going to be region wide going forward. There isn't a specific distinction on the auction house menu right now, so we're just going to have to remember what is and what isn't region wide, but honestly it shouldn't really change that much in the grand scheme of things. Using the auction house won't be any different, you'll just have more listings to choose from when you're buying certain items. I think this is going to be great for any lower population realms that might have had a low supply of trade materials like herbs and ores, and it will help keep the price consistent across the entire region. And then it's probably not going to be so good for anyone who made most of their gold from farming these lower supply items on lower population realms, but there are pros and cons for everything. I'm actually interested to see if they would move forward with a completely region-wide auction house. Again, lots of pros and cons to consider, but this might be their first step towards that goal. Removing server restrictions and barriers has been happening for a long time now. That's why we can now play cross-server and even cross-faction, so maybe their goal is having less restrictions overall when it comes to playing together on any given region. Now, if only we could also play cross-region, that would be a nice change as well. The other interesting change in this PTR build is the addition of another trade channel with a very specific purpose. A lot of players have complained about advertisements of services in-game, and a lot of changes have already been made, including enforcing changes of policy, but those pesky advertisements just keep showing up in places they shouldn't. So Blizzard is making a dedicated trade services channel for that kind of activity. So if you want to sell or buy boosts, runs, whatever you want in-game, this new channel will be exactly for that. This also gives you a very clear line for where this kind of thing should be posted and where it shouldn't. Any advertisements should be in this new channel, and if they are anywhere else they should be reported, and the players advertising outside of the channel should be punished. There really isn't any excuse with a dedicated spot put in place, so hopefully this will help clean up the LFG spam as well as keep the normal trade chat for normal kinds of trade. In addition to that, if you have zero interest in boosts and boosting, you can just leave or hide that channel and you should be spam free. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all works out and whether people actually pay attention and do the right thing. But those are some of the major changes coming our way, as well as the release date of Season 4 and a quick update for what Season 4 is going to bring. What do you think about the auction house and trade chat changes? How do you think Season 3 went for Shadowlands? And what are you most excited about for Season 4? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to everyone who's subscribed on Twitch. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.